talking DIY, fixing stuff, keeping your life in order. Anything else?
Oh, stuff going on at the shop, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's all.
Yeah,
as always.
We were trying to throw that one in.
Yeah, we've got tons to talk about, and it's been a while.
Well, this is good news because I might be here for hours because I'm not sure I can get up again with my bad back. We might just have to talk ad infinitum, guys. If this is the longest podcast that you've ever heard in your lives, I apologise, but it's all my fault.
Yeah, here we go. Well, you know what? I'm gonna kick off with that, and welcome to everyone who's listening and watching us on YouTube. We've got quite a following on YouTube, by the way.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's nice to hear. Oh, and I've slouched again. See, I never used to have to worry about this.
I think I need to get a pillow for behind you because there was a great one. I wish, you know, and actually Glenn and I were watching it, and Glenn was saying, "It looks like he's going to fall asleep."
I'm that relaxed, you know?
Well, you were in the full
Yeah, I know. Well,
it's these chairs.
Why do you think I come? It's got nothing to do with it. It's the therapy. I've got a bone to pick with Glenn, by the way.
Okay.
I'm now caught up with all of his episodes, and his attitude towards the Pajero was absolutely appalling. And I even sold him one at the most reduced rate you can possibly manage. And ever since, he's been terrible about them.
Yeah. How's the Pajero stuff going, by the way?
Yeah, it's all right. Got a really nice 2017 at the moment. It came from a friend. Oh, here's a classic. I'll make it very quick, but it's kind of maintenance. So he has owned it from new. A dear friend of mine, headmaster of the local school.
Yeah.
And I was around at his place at the weekend to pick it up.
And he says, "I just got to get rid of this thing."
Yeah, it's one of those. Well, he has an F-150 that a brand new one that he's grabbing.
Yeah.
So it was just an easy, nice deal for everybody. It worked really nicely. But then I got out my paint thickness tester. He's owned it since new. 4 kilometres it was when he got it. And I said, "Look, I'll just go around this and I'll show you how it works." He's quite geeky at all that, like me. And I found that 2 panels had been resprayed.
It was brand new though.
It was brand new. Yeah.
So this is before he even owned it. They'd done repairs on it.
2 possible scenarios. First of all, in shipping from Japan to here, there was damage. They never declared it to him.
Yeah.
Or secondly, at some point when it's been serviced, full agency history, they have damaged the car, repainted it, and gave it back to him.
That is just wrong.
Yeah, I know. So I put it up on the groups and said, "Guys, beware of this. This is the reason why I use a really good paint thickness tester." And little do you know that value-wise, it has a massive effect. So as a result, it's one of those where luckily, and actually because mine is so advanced, I can work out not just how they've resprayed it, but why they've resprayed it and exactly what happened. And it got dragged down a post.
So
and I can see it.
It's probably in the shop. Someone backing it up. They were too close to the lift.
Definitely possible. Yeah,
close to the door.
Exactly it. Height-wise, you can imagine entirely it was a lift.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, and people just don't know. Yeah. And the number of times that people come to me with cars, and it's often the ones that really get me are, "We've got to leave. We've got to leave now. We're in deep trouble. I'm in deep financial trouble. I just really need your help here." And then I go around the car and went, "I'm so sorry, but this has had so many accidents. I wouldn't put my own children in it, so I can't sell it on." And it's a horrible moment that they've been duped, and it's by some major outfits as well.
Yikes!
So awful. Yikes. Anyway, car stuff.
Yeah. You're the car guy. So, but I have one question about the Pajeros. Are they still actually making them any longer, or no?
No, they're not.
So this is it. We're on the sellout, basically.
Well, we are, but then what they'll actually do is they will keep shipping them to the Middle East because we're the biggest market by far.
Okay. So they have car yards full of these things.
I'm not sure they have car yards full of them, but they've certainly got some around and about that will be GCC spec'd. And brought over here without a doubt. So there's still plenty of stock in Al Habsor. But the reality of them is they're never going to break down anyway.
No.
You know, that's the phenomenal thing. I mean, I keep saying, Glenn, with all of his negativity about Pajeros, it's no surprise that mechanics hate Pajeros. And the simple reason is because they make no money off them. Okay? Everything that Glenn drives breaks down the whole time. He's over the moon about that. Oh, it's Volkswagen. Oh. Yeah, that's because you make a fortune off them, including all mine. But the truth of the matter is, with the Pajero, it needs a service.
Yeah.
And apart from that, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, when you sell it, I'm really sorry, but you're actually going to get more money than you expect back for it. That is why Glenn doesn't like it.
All right.
Yeah, so take that, Mr. Glenn.
Yeah, well, this is going to be a back and forth in the podcast.
You can guarantee it. Yeah. You can absolutely guarantee it, and I will come out all guns blazing, without a doubt.
Before we get going, we want to talk tools, and we want to talk other things with respect to doing repairs and maintenance and the lot. But you brought up a really interesting point because you were talking about, we've both been talking about stiff backs.
Oh.
And not back pain. Like, I don't have back pain, just
I do.
stiff. I'm just...
Where are you stiff, lower or upper?
Lower, sort of right at the waist.
Yeah, okay. So mine kind of starts there. I mean, I've got a history from when I was 15, 16 with sciatica and...
At 16 you had sciatica?
Yeah. I grew basically too quickly and didn't have the muscle structure around it. Okay. And I've got a really weak core at the best of times, and I haven't done anything to solve it really. But I've been fine for probably 5 or 6 years, and recently, probably 2 months ago, I just did a tweak. It wasn't a bad one.
What was the trigger? You were just bending down, picking up a hose?
Yeah, no, bending down and putting shoes on, actually. And
happens all the time to people. Or lifting things up into the garbage bins.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of people that kind of...
Well, it didn't help because when I went to Ras Al Khaimah to pick up these really cheap alloys for the Beetle Racing Series, there were 8 alloys there.
Oh no!
And I lifted all 8 out from where they were, which was an odd location with a twist that was involved as well, and then put in the back of the car. Well, that killed me. That absolutely killed me. So that was 2 weeks ago now, and I was doing quite well until last night. And oddly enough, it wasn't the racing. So I was racing last night with the Beetle.
Oh yeah, so you're crouched in.
No, it wasn't that. Oh. It was as basic. I mean, that's the problem thing. It's such mundane things. It was physically getting into the car that I tweaked it initially.
Oh, really?
And then the G-forces, because we were absolutely going for it, because we were chasing the other Beetle that was in front of us, properly did me in. So I basically rolled out of the car after the first session. And I was back in again immediately, because there's no way I'm missing a session. But this morning, oh my word, it was difficult. It was painful just to be able to get out on the dog walk. And the first 70, do you have this with your stiffness, that my legs work really odd? Like I walk
for the first
like a
bit.
duck for the first 75 yards or so until I loosen up again.
Yeah, it's just a little loosen up. And I went jogging this morning, and the first 500 meters were a little, what's going on here? And then it's suddenly it's just, okay, it's all back.
So what sets you off?
Sitting too much.
Yes, definitely.
In weird angles.
Weather,
no, not so much.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this time of year, traditionally for me, is when things get worse. When I went back to the UK, with it being colder there, that was much worse. So I'm never going back again, to be fair.
I was wondering if you're going to go back at Christmas. I read they're just keeping everything as it is at this point.
And on that basis, I'm definitely not. No, I wasn't anyway.
Okay.
I had a lovely week with the parents. That part was lovely, and with my sister as well. But the rest of it is not something I'd like to do on a regular basis. Hey, I almost forgot. Ruby and Dylan were listening again to the episode where you said hello to Ruby and Dylan.
Well, I want to say hello to them again because they're our biggest fans. They are pushing the road. They are working against convention.
Yes.
And they are the ears of the young listener.
Well, they loved it. They were like, wow, the American man has just...
Hey, easy, Ruby and Dylan.
I know, well, I had to explain Canada versus the US, bless them. But they absolutely loved it. So thank you very much for that, James. They really appreciate it.
Well, maybe we can even have Cookie Monster say good morning to them.
Now, this is Cookie Monster saying, hello, Ruby, hello, Dylan. And you know what starts with the letter C? Cookie! Because C is for cookie. It's good enough for me. Okay, that's enough now. We have to go back to the show.
That was brilliant. And people think this is a maintenance show. What's that about?
So I want to go back to our sore backs.
Oh, yeah, sore backs.
And the whole thing is, I have seen some of your guys wearing back things.
Protectors.
Yeah. So when you're bringing in staff, when you've got guys working there, what do you do with respect to back protection education?
That's part of the health and safety program.
Okay.
So safe working practices. So they're all IOSH qualified, and part of the health and safety course is about safe lifting and safe maintenance as a whole. They choose whether or not they want to support like that. The logic is...
Would anyone not want one?
Yeah, because it does limit mobility.
Okay.
But the reason generally why they would use it is with water heaters, which are a pain because the location...
Yeah, lifting and underneath.
But it's also, if you imagine the underside of that, where you've got a bath, you are naturally going to be twisting as you move, which is not nice. So we try and get people to be as careful as possible. Mind you, the difficulty with the health and safety course, we started doing these, we found them, finally they went online about 5 years ago, I reckon.
Okay, all right.
And at that point, we were like, right, everybody now we can put on these courses. And we immediately found that the number of accidents went up dramatically.
Why?
I have no idea.
Okay. No research.
But it took us when then, well, in that position, we then decided, okay, there's only one thing for it. We need to train them even more and use, because now there's incident and accident reports, which is all part of that health and safety policy, which we can use as case studies with people, and that worked really well. So now we're doing really well in terms of accidents at work. They're still the most ridiculous accident-prone bunch out of work. But within work hours, things are pretty good. And there are major consequences if they do not report an incident or an accident. So, you know, they're pretty honest about these things now.
I always find it interesting when people are lifting, how in many cases, common sense is nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be heard or seen. And that is, you know, bending at the knees, getting down, as opposed to just bending over at the waist, and then lifting up and using all of your lower back and core muscles to hopefully mitigate any damage that's going to happen. And people don't get it. They just don't get it.
Well, the other thing is there's so many things that can help you with that process. There's, as you know, Rick is a dear friend of mine at MacPack Removals.
Yes. Oh, no, see, those guys must have an enormous challenge to keeping everyone fit and ready to go.
They do, without a doubt, but there's an additional element to that, which is, people talk a lot about your core, which will help your back. Well, these boys are all, I mean, each man, they're not actually very big, his boys, but to a man, they are built. I mean, really built. So that in itself,
and that's just
really
a lot of,
helps.
they're doing a lot of lifting like this.
Constant.
They're doing a lot of,
Yeah.
they're doing a lot of this.
But you look at the teamwork, and then you also look at the bend your knees, straight back, all that kind of thing. If one of them does not do that correctly, every one of the rest of his team is watching for it, you know?
Yeah.
Which is wonderful. It's exactly how it should be.
Teamwork.
Yeah, it is. So that's something that we're looking to understand a little bit more. How he gets his team to call each other out that effectively is wonderful.
Do you think possibly, I want to jump back to the health and safety videos, and they're online. Do you think while online health and safety videos are very convenient, there's added value to having that person come in with a couple sandbags or come into the shop, you've got the water heater, and they're saying, okay, let's physically do this. And kind of like a fitness coach, they're, you know, let's lift some of these things up, and they're watching and say, okay, hold on, how does that feel? You know, feel right here, and they say, straighten up just a bit. Now, how does that feel when you lift? And do you think there's benefit to doing that?
Definitely, yeah.
Well, I guess you do that with your in-services.
Well, there's a practical, well, we do all of that from a training perspective for our staff. That's done. Actually, less on the health and safety front. We do first aid as a course that we offer internally, but there's a practical issue on that one, which is a multiplier of 10 to 20 in terms of cost for the lost revenue hours.
Right.
And we can fit in an online course around our schedule. So when we have some downtime, we have a hit list of people who haven't done such a course. Get them back, replace them on the job, and let's get this all signed off. And that's a standard process now that happens. If you have to schedule it, at that point, it's not just the downtime in terms of the staff coming in, but also the cost of the guy as well. And you really, you wouldn't believe that you're then sat at somewhere around the 10 to 15,000 for an hour and a half.
Really?
Just in terms of the lost revenue and then the downtime to physically get back to operable. It's really difficult, so we try and minimise that.
You're no longer doing window washing.
True.
You miss the water? You're quite the water aficionado, the water guru.
Oh, I'm still involved. the guy who I sold it to.
Here, I thought you were done with the pure water. It was over. You'd invested.
No.
No, okay.
No. So two things on that. It's a bit of a classic, really, which is the guy who took it over is Noel, is fantastic at the window cleaning side. He's not the most practical of men. So on that basis, I get it.
Hold on, what does that mean?
He can't maintain his own equipment. So
no.
I'm trying to coach him into it, but it is literally a video. In fact, we've had 2 really reliable weeks, but we've had everything with it, which is odd because we had nothing in 2 years. Yeah. Rebuilt the whole stuff, and it was absolutely fine. And then just weird things along the way that have caused issues, but he's definitely getting there without a doubt and doing a phenomenal job. I mean, the cleaning that he's doing, and now with the focus. See, for us, the difficulty always was: do we spend our marketing money on AC, which is much more profitable than window cleaning, or the other way around? Obviously, you'd spend it on what's more profitable for you. Yeah. So window cleaning with us just sat there as either a freebie for a contract, or alternatively, if it came our way, then we'd take it. Now with Noel, because that is his business, he is totally focused on it, and he is flying, absolutely flying. So we've got a second unit that's now just about ready for sale, and we were talking to Noel as well, and bless him, he's put quite an investment into the first unit, and although he's really busy, it's a real investment to get that next one up and running. We're talking about a possibility with Noel, but out of nowhere, I got a message from a friend of a friend to say another friend is...
Hold on, a friend of a friend who says, I got another friend.
Yes,
okay.
Friend of a friend of a friend.
So 3 degrees of bacon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was absolutely all over the place. Yeah. Who was looking for a van. That was all I was told initially. Anyway, he called up and bless it, the phone call went, oh yeah, I've got this unique idea in the UAE. I'm like, what's that? It's like, it's called pure water. You might not know about it. I was like, okay, this will be interesting. Anyway, what he's
So
done,
how long did you let him go on before you said,
well, the problem was he was talking all in buzzwords that were unique to the manufacturer that he bought all of his gear from. Okay. Now, the company that he's bought all of his gear from is a decent outfit in the UK, and I do know them. But what he's paid for is just, I mean, he's literally gone Lamborghini for something that desperately needed to be a Pajero.
Oh no.
Yeah. I mean, he's overspent, I think, by a factor of maybe 8 to 10. Yeah, but he's got the most ridiculous, amazing gear. He's got stuff like a vacuum pole, which can go up to 36 feet, and it's extendable as it goes.
Wow.
I know, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So for that kind of stuff, if you imagine when you're doing, at the moment, say that you are you're a hotel.
Yeah.
You've got your standard AC servicing that's done, but all of the vents, just the vents, are 30 foot up in the air. Well, at the moment, the only way that you can actually clean that, and you need to clean it because your customers can see it, is by erecting scaffold in the middle of your hotel.
Yeah, no one's doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And therefore, great market. That's really, really nice.
Okay.
Well, the problem is, where it all goes a bit wrong was he was telling me all about this smart tank.
It's a smart tank.
A smart tank. And I'm like, I don't even know what a smart tank is. Anyway, what he basically explained to me was this integrated water tank, pure water tank, which has the hoses integrated into it, that has the reverse osmosis system integrated
all
into it.
All in one fancy package.
Yeah. And also has the pumps as well.
Pause just for a second. We're going to come back to the smart tank.
Yeah.
Just remind, because there are a few people who probably have not listened to the podcast where we talked about smart water, and that's probably about 2 years ago. That
it was probably a while, wasn't it? So pure water, let's explain that. So pure water window cleaning is all about using, pure water. And
someone's going to say, well, I've got it coming out of the well.
No, you haven't. So generally speaking, when we're talking about pure water, we mean zero impurity. So what that means is if you imagine minerals are technically an impurity in your water. And how you can tell that your water is impure is if you throw water at your window and it dries off, you can see the residue of the water drops that are there. Those are the impurities.
Right.
When you remove all of that, so you get just down to base water, it actually acts like a magnet for dirt. It's really uncomfortable. It does not like being that clean. So when you put that on a window, it will actually act like a magnet with all of the dirt, and then rinse it off with some more, leave it, and you'll have no smears whatsoever.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Well, you then couple that technology with where the technology is for the extendable telescopic poles, and then you pump that water to the top, put a brush on the top of it, and all of a sudden you fix the health and safety issue, which is going up a ladder is really dangerous. So these two technologies all got put together probably about 10 to 15 years ago, specifically in the UK actually. And it's been like a revolution because you can now clean houses quicker and much more effectively than in the past.
You don't need any detergents. You don't.
There is no detergent.
No soap or anything. It's just water.
Just water. So you've got the ecological perspective is much stronger as well. So that works really well. So that's basically what we're trying to create. Now, I got particularly geeky with it. So I
remember coming by the old setup, and it was phenomenal out back. You had a lounge area tucked away behind all of these tanks, and I think there were 4 or 5 steps. You had 2 that you didn't.
We kind of calmed it down to 7.
Okay, 7. That's right.
But we started at 13 because I wanted to see how dirty water I could actually make pure. And with the system that we had, we honestly, if you'd have grabbed a bucket of mud, we could have made that pure water. And it was a lot of fun. It was quite expensive to do, was the slight issue.
Dan was okay with that? He was just, keep tinkering away.
Well, the nice thing was...
Dan didn't realize you were doing this?
Dan didn't really understand what I was actually doing, which was a big benefit for Dan. And luckily, I kind of realized halfway through that I could actually make this a lot cheaper just by using the standard Dewar water as a start point rather than messing around with other things. So it was, we optimized it to be, and then we accidentally became the biggest producer of pure water in the Middle East, which was hilarious. And we had various people coming over to borrow some. We maybe should have tried selling it, but it was probably a little bit too early for the market at that point.
And that's always a challenge, isn't it? When you're ahead of the wave and you've got something going, and you're so far ahead of the market, people don't realize they actually need this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's now that we know how to do it, the big problem, and the problem that this guy's got that I met from Abu Dhabi is...
Okay, so now we're fast forward the tape back. So now we got the guy with the pure water tank, the smart tank that has the hoses,
So he's got, basically integrated, so if you imagine the back of a van, so you've got basically, instead of the floor at this level, the floor's now at that level, which is
up 2 feet.
All a metal tank.
Right.
Okay. There's 2 kind of holes on each side which have the hose reels on, so they pull straight out as part of this tank. Inside the central hatch, there is a reverse osmosis membrane, which is how you get the worst of the water clean. It also has the...
So is the entire purification system now in the van?
Yes.
Wow.
No, not wow.
Well, it sounds wow. It sounds wow because
it's wow as a package if you're trying to sell it.
Yeah, as a package, it's like, wow, it's okay, I've got it all in one place.
So, and then it's got these electronic pressure controllers for the pumps. The pumps themselves are there also. And you know what? When it's working, it's an amazing setup. It's not going to work for very long in this environment. There's no way. I mean, I've blown all of his gear. I've blown all of it. Oh, no. So on that basis, it's a difficult conversation to have with him because it's like, okay, I understand on paper, this guy thinks he's just sold you this Lambo. And, the truth of the matter is, he sold you a Ferrari, which is much less reliable than a Lambo. And he hasn't ordered any spare parts.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So if you imagine, just even if it was, he's got 2 options. It's going to go down through one component at a time. You don't get multiple failures in one go. So he either has to air freight over that part and hope it's not a heavy one, or alternatively, he has to butcher what's there because it's also specific to the setup and the space that he's got within this smart tank that he ends up with something that's just a dog's dinner. But it's all the way through the system. The hoses themselves are UK spec, which are lovely hoses, but won't survive in the UV that's here. Right. The pump itself is totally specific to the smart tank, so all the mountings are different. The on and off controllers are totally different as well.
How did you break this to him? That great thing that you
gently, very really, really gently.
Did he start crying?
No, he didn't, because it is really good gear. Yeah. But I kind of said to him, look, right now, these are the spares you should be ordering at this moment. And he's like, it's arriving in 2 weeks. I'm like, order it now. Get it sent by sea, because by the time you've installed it, and that was the other great thing. I'm like, how are you going to install this? He's like, oh, there's a distributor here. Oh, right, great. So they've got an installer for these. No, they've never sold one before.
So is Glenn installing this for him?
I don't know yet. He's in Abu Dhabi, so I have no idea what his plan is. But so this is kind of the oddity of it. But he's got lots of additional elements to it that are great in theory. He's got all carbon poles, so they're really light. Yeah, but each one is 15,000 dirhams for a pole. Okay, we've snapped a carbon pole.
They're going to break.
Yeah, we snapped a 22,000 dirham carbon pole.
That makes you cry.
2 different sections, and it works out more expensive to get the replacements than to get a new pole locally.
Yeah, you see.
Yeah, but our poles are much heavier. We've got carbon poles for really high up, but the main ones that we use are aluminium. They're literally a tenth of the price. They're heavier, but they don't break. Yeah. And that's the thing. So it was trying to explain to him, look, work with what you've got, but you need to work sensibly. If that fails, you need to understand the plan B of how you're going to get around it. So now what he's suggesting is he's got a whole bunch of contracts that are commercial contracts, and he thinks that he's going to be overrun inside weeks. So he's after a van from us, and I said, well, actually, I've got a full unit that I can put together for you as well. So if he has the pockets for it, then we will build him something that is reliable, and it'll be very Billy Basic compared to what he's got, but it all works, and you can all get spares for it locally. So whereas he'll be out of commission for 3-4 weeks, we'll be out of commission for 24 hours maximum.
See, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so we'll see,
so he's
see where he goes. Yeah, he's supposed to, actually, I'm on a phone call next with him, 10 o'clock today. I'm on a phone call to find out where his head's at. But if he can afford both of those after what he spent, then he's got some deep pockets, okay?
Here's an interesting one. And this is, we are getting to more DIY stuff, but this is all interesting. When you're repairing stuff, so I'm talking specifically about my jacuzzi hot tub.
Yes.
Which is a legacy tub. So when guys come to fix it, which it does not break down. In fact, the guys were there a couple of weeks ago. They had to call in the repair dude. And I've gone through a few repair dudes until I've found the repair dude.
That's a good contact.
Yeah, and I mean, he's worth everything.
Send his details through, because now and again we get people requesting that service, and I haven't got somebody good for that.
Oh man, this guy's great.
Wonderful.
And so I own a legacy tub. So a Spa Form is the brand out of the UK, but we're talking, so anyone who's been around in the UK with hot tubs would know Spa Form. They've changed their name now, they're going by something else, but we're talking, go back 20 years, Spa Form was a big deal in the UK. And so I bought this tub because it was on sale 21 years ago. And the challenge is when parts start to go. So now this is, when I say it's a legacy tub, which means every part on this hot tub is no longer being sold.
Yeah.
So
that's fun.
So finding those things. But I've now replaced over 21 years both my pumps. Yeah. Those actually just both went in the last 2 years.
Wow.
I know. That's what the guy said. He said, "How is that even possible?" But
well, that's because in 21 years ago things were built properly.
Well, that's why. And even there's a little vacuum in it, the blower, because all the hot tubs, and it's just a vacuum. Yeah. That's some reverse. That went too. So all of these things. So I've replaced everything, and but 2 weeks ago I had to replace the second pump, and you could hear it coming on.
But I prefer this to electronics, which is where it all goes badly wrong. Yeah. And I've worked on jacuzzi electronics, and it was a disaster. Yeah. Even with the spare parts, it was a total disaster.
So the pump would come on, but you would hear it, and it was stuck somewhere. Yeah. So he gets it out. He comes to take it out, and this is where the whole story is going to. Is clearly when they built these hot tubs in the factory, they put all of the mechanisms in place, and then they put the tub in.
Yeah. So you had no access to be able to.
Yeah. So he's trying to take out the thing, and he's going, okay. There's two problems here. First of all, there's one screw behind because they've screwed it down to the base. Also, the grounding is behind.
Oh. Well, actually, no. The grounding isn't so much of an issue.
Yeah. So that was okay because he could put it on, but he's literally. Oh, not only are the one screw behind, but one of the pipe outlets was behind. So he said,
"Oh, that's nasty."
Yeah. So he said, he's going, but who designed this? Like, who put the? And I said, clearly they fixed that design flaw down the road. And he said, fortunately, this pump never went, and it was beautiful because it's a single speed pump. It's just full on. Like there's two pumps in this machine, and he said that's kind of unusual too, the way the two pumps work in this thing. because you've got one pump that's a variable speed pump, so it's got just a little circulation speed, and then
that is odd.
and then it'll click on to whatever horsepower it runs. Then I've got a second pump that just runs full bore, and that's the one that finally went.
So the full bore one surely must be running through some kind of filtration system that requires that circulation level. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense.
It only comes on when it'll come on. There's a timer. So if you turn it on manually, so if you got you're in the tub and you want to have the blowers working, you just push both pumps because I can activate them manually.
Okay.
But when it's just circulating, that's where the first pump comes on because it'll then circulate very slowly, and you just hear it come on, and it's just circulating the water.
Cool.
So it was really cool, but it was the challenge of getting in to the space, and even with all the funky tools. So you've got a coupling where you've got to turn the pipe onto the pump, and you can tighten. And you can only tighten it so far, and so you're kind of on your side, and you're leaning in, and you're doing whatever. And he had this really cool tool, and that's ultimately this is segueing into. He had this really cool tool which looked like
a strap ratchet.
You had a strap ratchet.
Yeah, they're really good.
And I was just going, "Oh, that's cool."
All of our boys have those. All the plumbers.
And he was going, and I said, "That's a really cool tool." He says, "It is a really cool tool, except I can't get my hand in the back where I got to put this thing." He could finally get his hand in as he's sort of lying on his back, and he's got some weird angle going. But he says, "Yeah, I can't get the strap ratchet in."
See, that's a pain because those union joints work on a crushed O-ring.
Right, exactly. And then he got it in, and then he realized, so he got it all in, he got it all put in place, he screwed things back in, and then we got to fill it. So I fill it up. Fortunately, he says, "I love this tub because it fills fast, and you've got a big hose."
Yeah.
And so I fill it up a quarter of the way so we can see it, and he goes, "Oh," and he's looking in, and he's going, "Oh," he's got the light in, he's going, "Oh no."
It's dripping.
Yeah, it's dripping. There's a problem with that O-ring. And so I had to take everything out and take a look at the O-rings. He's mumbling a bit.
Oh, you'd always replace that.
Yeah, that's what he did. And he said he thought it was the new one that he put in. And it's like, no.
They get brittle really easily, especially one at that age. You have no chance.
And you figure it's hot water going through it, and chemicals, and it was funny because that's usually one of the stipulations when we go somewhere. You got a jacuzzi. If you're renting an Airbnb, you got a jacuzzi? No, jacuzzi and barbecue.
What kind of place are you?
That's exactly what I write back. What kind of place are you guys? No barbecue, no jacuzzi.
A little studio on the 51st floor.
But it was funny because I was taking the water and you're going, what do you use for chemicals in here? I said, bromine. And he's going, what? I said, bromine. And he's going, I go, better pH range for treatment. Doesn't smell like chlorine, but it costs like 50% more. And he's going, so you pay more, but you don't smell like chlorine. I go, exactly.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
Yeah.
I never knew that you use that.
Yeah, bromine tablets.
Wow.
And he was taking pictures of it. He goes, because he's not been using that stuff either. And he's saying, this is good stuff. Because he was just sort of smelling the water. He's going, wow, this is really good.
That's really important as well in jacuzzi, because by its very nature of the aeration, it really does fill your nostrils, doesn't it?
It does. So especially when you pull off they're always covered.
Yeah.
Because you want to keep the heat in. So they're always covered. You pull that cover off, and if you've had a good chlorination, it's like,
yeah.
It's like, what am I sitting in here?
I'm going to melt.
Yeah. But it was, back to this tool, and this is where we really wanted to go.
Yes.
On the show is this strap ratchet.
Yes.
One of those things that, as a home DIYer, you might use once or twice in 10 years, but boy, does it make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so that people can kind of understand this, what you'd use this for is when you have a very large joint where you want constant pressure around it. Yeah. You've got what people would know as alligator pliers.
Yeah, so or the water pump pliers, you could get those.
Yeah, but both of those are great if you're using metal.
Yeah.
It's a metal joint. Now, if you imagine that being a plastic or
and
PVC
that's exactly
joint,
what I was dealing with.
So the issue that you've got there is you will crack it unless you are an absolute genius.
Yeah,
you will crack it.
And when you hear that,
and
there's no fixing it. You can try doing stuff, but you're done.
So the strap ratchet, the nice thing about that is, normally, I don't know whether your one was, normally they're rubber, which basically...
This one was, it wasn't...
Chain?
No, it looked like it was like a cloth.
Okay.
But maybe it was rubberized. But it kind of looked like a really thick, like a strapping that you use on a truck when you're
Yeah,
That-
like yes.
What do you call that? A tie wrap?
Ratchet.
A ratchet?
A ratchet strap.
A ratchet,
Yeah.
that's it.
I know what you mean. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I had to use the sound to describe it.
Well, it got
then
there,
you knew
didn't
exactly what it was. Like,
Yeah. So the idea of this, if you imagine, is instead of just the contact point that you'd have with alligator pliers or that kind of thing, this spreads the load around the entire thing, which basically means it's not going to crack because no particular point has any more pressure than anywhere else. So it's a really great tool for that kind of job. But the reality is it's pretty specialist.
Yeah.
If you're not going into large joint plumbing, you probably don't need one. Interestingly enough, I do, and I haven't got one. Well, I've got the boys, haven't I? And they've all got them. So, but this is for my swimming pool.
Yeah,
I've got the joints are dodgy as. And actually, talking of that, that still isn't done. That's going to be a job I'm going to get some of them back to do. That
You got leaks? You got leaks?
in. Well, it's all 3 PVC gate valves that I absolutely hate. I mean, I've no idea. I'm no specialist when it comes to swimming pool plumbing, but I don't really understand why they still use the plastic gate valves that I hate because the quality's terrible. And they all leak. I mean, every single one of them leaks, and it's silly. But anyway, it's gone beyond just the odd drip now.
That's a problem.
Yeah, well, I'm actually the one thing that gets on my nerves about it. I can survive a drip because it's in its own separate area and it's fine. But the bit that really gets through to me is the cavitation in the pool, and that really irritates me. And I know that's not normal, but it just gets through to me. So that's the reason, really, that we need to get it all solved.
Are you going to just change out so the plastic gate valves are typically those ones where you see the plastic knob on the top and open, close, open, close, open, close.
Red. Normally got a red.
Are you going to replace those with metal ones?
I'm not because
no, you're going to put back in the plastic.
Well, this is the thing.
Because you just told me you hate them.
Yeah, I do hate them.
So why aren't you going to do the better valves?
Well, because I need to understand the logic. Well, first of all, actually, I do know the real reason behind this, which is as soon as you put in a brass valve, which is what you would normally do. Yeah. Well, a brass valve of the size that we're talking about, which is probably a 2.5-inch tank, 2.5-inch fitting,
that's big,
is probably 300 each, and I've got 3 of them. Okay. The plastic fitting is about 40, 50. So it's a cost thing.
Where's Natalie going to chime in on this?
She's never even going to go in the building.
She's never going to go, so she's not going to know.
It's the outhouse.
Okay.
Hasn't got a clue.
She's not going
she knows where. Actually, that's not true. She knows where the on button is for the for the swimming pool when I'm not there, and she doesn't know where the off button is, which is odd because it's the same button, but I always get sent out there. So work that out. Yeah, one of those. So, interestingly enough this week though, I did have the boys over. I should have done this at the same time. I had the boys over for a leak on the water tank, and I was expecting the worst.
Up on the roof?
No, well ours isn't. Ours is ground floor level.
Okay, because I've got a ground floor and a roof
Yeah,
tank.
you have. That's kind of the
double
old
tank.
style, the old style approach to it.
Which is weird. Well, it's just 2 places for things to go wrong is what it is.
Yeah, the big advantage of that though is if push comes to shove and the one on your roof is not working, gravity enough will give you really good pressure.
Yeah.
Whereas unfortunately though, if the one on the ground floor fails, you are totally done for.
Yeah.
So there's no way that they will push up to the roof. So it's just a different setup. It's more complex. And I've just learned over the years that simplicity is the way forward. It really is. And the people who do that really well is Email. They've got the head screwed on, and some of the designs that you see, there is a development in fact, I've spoken about this before, which is underneath the golf cart, I kid you not, is an enormous room. We've talked about this, where all of the gear that's there, I reckon cost price for the gear that they've installed is probably 140,000 dirhams just for the pumps and setup.
Knowing that this is all below ground level, and that's where water is going to run and stuff, and it's going to fill it. Well, did they get a bargain basement price when they put in all this technology for distribution of water in these villas?
Absolutely not.
No.
Okay. No. It's there's so many design flaws that are terminal design flaws in these. Anyway, the replacement that we put in is about 15,000 dirhams.
Still a lot of money.
Well, yeah, it's a heck of a property, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But that is, in that situation, you've got a double pump setup where, so there is, it's designed so that if one fails, you quickly just turn it on to the other one and you can keep going without any problem whatsoever. But it's the right gear for that type of house. And it's basic. You put that underwater, which happens frequently in this this particular development.
Is there no way of protecting against that?
Well, the problem that you have with the protection is if you imagine the traditional homeowner that isn't involved with their property whatsoever, it could be months before they realise that there's even a problem.
Yeah.
And because it's in a separate place, it's not even somewhere where they would normally go. You know, how often, after novelty's worn off, how often do you use your golf buggy? Once a month.
Yes.
So therefore you're not even in the room to hear the buzzer that's going off.
Yeah, okay.
Nah, not really. I didn't even know. I thought those were bumblebees. We had that once actually, hilarious. Oh, I thought it was the sound of bumblebees.
that
Yeah. Gee whiz. Trying not to laugh at that moment as they're just handing over their check for a huge amount of cash. And it's one of those that really, it's just a really obvious design flaw in lots of different areas that we try and design out the best that we can. And whereas previously it takes a double failure, it takes a single failure to write the whole thing off, and the first thing you know is the water that's coming down the driveway and it's already a floor up. So with ours, it would need a triple failure, which is as good as we can do really to solve that issue.
Another little piece of equipment that interesting, when you never need it, but then you need it, and this is the craziest one, is a leather hole punch.
Oh, I've got one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're
Me
great.
too. Yeah.
Absolutely. I've got the one that's gone down generations.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because that's one of those things that you'll never use it, and then, someone's going to have a belt, someone's going to have a pair of sandals, someone's going to have something that you need to put a hole in, and you talk around with people, and it's like, oh, I don't have one of those.
So the belt I'm actually wearing today is the belt that I had at my fattest.
Okay.
And if you notice, all the way down, it's still got the holes on it.
You were way down at the end.
Oh God, no! I've cut it off.
Wow.
It used to be about 6 inches longer than this.
Wow.
And fair enough, there was plenty there, but this one just had to be punched and punched and punched. Luckily, as I've continued to lose weight, and then finally the other day, somebody went, "Oh, your belt is undone." I'm like, "No, it's definitely not." And I realised that the flap was so long.
Yeah.
That it just got ridiculous. So I
had one of those issues at
it off in a moment.
my fish and chip dance.
I loved your fish and chip dance. Thank you for that, by the way.
That's the chippy right there in Murdiff.
And I haven't been in so long.
Phone number right there, visible.
Yeah.
The guy thought I was trying to do something weird. He came out.
I'm not surprised you were doing something weird.
Well,
you think that dance is normal?
And then I'm looking, like you're talking about the belt, and clearly the belt needs to be trimmed because it was hanging out, and I thought it was a little phallic, but anyway. TikTok, the James Cast, if you want to see what I'm talking about, scroll back, you'll find the fish and chip one.
And there's a whole series of them now, isn't there, of your amazing dance moves.
Here's an interesting one. I've got a colleague, Katya, we won't name her, and Katya says to me, so we're not naming her, so
no, not
she'll
Katya.
go unnamed.
Yeah.
She says, you got to up your moves, man. And she said, I can give you some tips. And I'm going,
no,
okay.
You've got a particular style about you.
And I said, okay, no problem. Why don't you come on and
brilliant.
teach me a few new? And she goes, that's not happening. But I'll show you off the TikTok. And I'm going, no, but it would be better on the TikTok.
I agree.
So we're working it.
But you've got a particular style about it.
I've got the old dad style.
I know, but what's wrong with that? We are old dads.
That's it.
I think it looks great. I absolutely love it. And it gives me that little smile. Seeing another one of those. And that's what it's about. And you know what? Part of our job as dads and where we're at now is to not give up.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the wonderful thing.
Hey, you wanna hear
and
it?
to raise a smile is, I tip my hat to you, Joe.
And that's the only reason I do them, because I look at someone and say, aren't you embarrassed to do that? I said, you know how many people say they get a little bit of a chuckle?
Oh, absolutely.
And especially when you find some odd place, like there was one in Carrefour, did you see that
Yeah.
one?
Well, was that Carrefour? I saw the one in the aisles.
Yeah, there was a Christmas one.
Oh, wow.
So you got to go back and look at that, because there's a woman behind me shopping. She never looks.
No, it looked like the one that I saw was like you were in a much smaller, tighter.
Oh, that was at
supermarket.
the university. That was in a union co-op.
Ah,
And
okay.
but look, go before that. There's a Christmas one.
Oh, okay.
And someone said, "Why don't you use Christmas too?" I said, "That's coming." But so there I was in Carrefour, freshly outlaid Christmas decorations, and I'm dancing in the aisle. There's a lady behind me shopping.
Brilliant.
Never looks.
Never looked.
No.
How?
That's what I don't get. I was like almost elbowed her.
Own world. How do you deal with stressful situations? I don't even notice them.
But you know, the crazy thing is, I'm talking with one of the advisors at the university with some students who are choosing courses, and this advisor calls me up and says, James, I got to tell you this story. You're going to love it. A couple of students were watching on TikTok. They want to take your class now.
Oh, lovely.
And I'm going, based on TikTok? They go, anyone,
Communication.
any
There we
professor
go.
who's
Media
willing to
and
TikTok
communication.
has got to be a good professor. I said, well, there we go. I'm an awesome professor, but if that TikTok's selling it, then...
Good on you. It's all marketing, isn't it?
That's what I said. I said it's classic.
Yeah, that's good news indeed.
Yeah. Whole punch. Speaking of TikTok, I sent you the TikTok video of the guy with the hammer drill.
Oh, I can't imagine that he can father children after that.
So this guy has the hammer drill. I mean, we're talking industrial strength.
Yeah, it's a Hilti, wasn't it?
He's doing some demolition on a wall. He kind of has it. I don't know what he's got it held in his crotch,
theory,
but I don't think he was using it.
My theory was that he was up quite high because he is literally hanging himself off a strop. But what I can't understand was he holding on with his hands as well?
I think so, yeah.
And then he propped the hammer drill in a location that traditionally would not be propped.
Right in his groin there.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. I couldn't think of a nice way of putting it. And then somehow or other,
my kids would say the package. He's got it right in his package.
Oh, that's quite nice.
Yeah.
And anyway. Then he literally turned it on, and it all went a bit ballistic, which is great. But the level of stupidity of some people is just beyond comprehension, isn't it?
You know, another item that I have, and I almost never use it, but it'll be once a year, is a rubber mallet.
Oh no, that's a staple.
You use that all the time?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, once in a while I use it, but you've got a rubber mallet.
Yeah, see, the nice thing about a rubber mallet is if you've got something that you are just not too sure how far it is going to drive home to, if you use a standard hammer on that, or like a real heavy hammer, the equivalent but in steel, when you go too far, it's catastrophic.
Right.
The nice thing about a rubber mallet is it gives you that halfway house of working out how hard to hit it. And if you do drive it home, you're unlikely to actually do damage. Yeah. So, no, I really like those. But then a lot of the rubber mallets here are garbage.
Well, that's the thing. You got to spend a little bit for.
Yeah, you do
I find those smaller ones that have got the yellow end. I've seen those come from Stanley's. Got a really nice mallet.
Yeah,
they cost a little bit more though.
They do. They are more expensive. But then that's interesting because I consider those to be kind of different. They're almost like detail hammers. Ah, okay. In effect, and with the two different ends, with one end that's rock hard, the other end that's kind of rubberized. Yeah, I love those as well. I haven't got one, but I love those. Okay. But the one I'm talking about is a much heavier,
that big thing,
much heavier mallet. But again, those
don't get duped because there's some really cheap ones.
Oh, they are, and they're garbage. I mean, literally, the heads come flying off.
Yeah.
And I know those because my boys now and again, instead of going through the standard process of fill out the form, get Colin to approve this tool, go and get the tool purchased for you, and back it comes, and 2 days later you'll have the tool that you want. They just put in a claim form having bought the 9 dirham rubber mallet. Yeah. And at that point, if I see one of those, I know what they cost. And literally, I was saying to the boys, well, I'm glad you've got your own rubber mallet now, because you're sure as heck not using it on our jobs. Because I know, A, the health and safety risk of that coming off at the wrong moment, because you are hitting hard with those things. And secondly, the fact that I know it's going to be broken in a month, so why the heck would I actually pay for something of that rubbish quality? Yeah. So the boy's learning now.
Okay, that's good.
You want the company to pay, make sure it's approved.
Good pry bar?
Oh, yeah. Now, a pry bar's a pry bar, which is nice.
So I've got two. I've got a nice, I got one that's a pry bar that's really flat and it's curved, and then I've got a good crowbar. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, pry bar, crowbar. Yeah. So again,
is crowbar a universal word, or is that
crowbar
just North American?
No, it's definitely UK as well.
Okay.
So the pry bar, the nice thing about that is there's a nuance to it.
Yes.
So again, one end is your one with one end that's kind of designed for nails. That really helps. And those I really do like because again, you can have a lot more. What's the word I'm looking for? The word is probably like almost you can specify.
What I'm hearing a little Jeopardy in the background.
Yeah, you can specify exactly what level of force you want
Yeah,
to use.
yeah.
You can't do that with a crowbar.
Nah, crowbar is just...
Crowbar is, it is coming off no
it's
matter what.
Get in and ram that sucker.
Yeah, but the lovely thing is you're working really hard to break one of those, so you can go for the cheapest one that you find. And I've never had a bad one, apart from ones that rust, which can get a little bit irritating.
Yeah.
But again, a bit of WD on them every now and then tends to sort all that kind of stuff out.
Had the WD out. I mean, that's a staple. Although I need to get the graphite spray. The boys are coming for Christmas, so I gotta get them on to just go buy Canadian Tire and grab some graphite spray.
Yeah, do.
And
powder.
And powder. I was getting out
both.
the WD the other day, and there's no straw. The straw's gone.
See, I've learned this lesson.
Okay. What do you do?
Right. WD comes in an integrated pack, whereas instead of the one that supposedly clips in the top, they have big cans now which has an integrated rotating out spray with nozzle, or if you rotate it further, it works as a standard spray, all in one. And I was like, yeah, there's not even a question. And this week, we finally got all of the kids' stuff that unfortunately we'd left out over the summer period. Everything got WD'd and sorted out, and away we went. And it's worth a treat, as always it does, you know. But for the kids, it's just magic.
Yeah,
you know?
so I got to get one of those, because when you lose the straw...
Yeah, the straw, they're rubbish, aren't they?
And where can you get another one of those?
And also, the other problem with those straws is when you actually push it into the nozzle...
Oh, you always get hit.
Fine the first time, but you get hit. And secondly, I find they loosen off.
Yeah.
So you then got WD everywhere anyway.
They're all lubricated up, so it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But it's one of those which is a fantastic product.
You know what I've had to start using WD for, and actually I'm thinking the graphite spray might be what I need, so I've got a Ninja blender.
Yes, I remember your blender.
And full Ninja. Like this is, and I ran into a problem.
So you said you can never kill that.
Apparently, no, not the
10-year-old.
juicer. Not the juicer.
Okay.
I've got the Phillips juicer.
Yes.
That thing won't die.
No, exactly.
I've actually replaced the juicing mechanism in it once, just because it was getting a little dull. And I went to the Phillips, showroom that's over in Ras Al Khor, I guess.
So you couldn't just get the blade?
Well, it's kind of got a meshy thing with the blade in it, so it's
okay.
but it was fine because it was super inexpensive, and the guy's just going, we don't even make that juicer anymore, but we have parts.
Great.
I said, okay, I'll take one. I should have taken two. I've got to go and get another one just to back up.
Anyway,
the Ninja was a whole other thing. So the Ninja has this, it's beautiful horsepower on this mixer, blender. It's wonderful. And the problem is the blender blade mechanism that you kind of screw on the bottom.
Yeah.
It's got quite an axle inside and double connector on the blender, so it's got quite a bit of force going. And it can get pretty warm, I suspect. And there's
always... Is it metal or nylon?
It's metal.
Good.
Now, what happened is I was using it, and I guess in the washing cycle or something, when I was cleaning it, it got left somewhere, and it kind of seized up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I,
bearings.
So I put it aside, thinking, oh man, this is terrible.
Yeah.
And I bought a couple new ones. Now, of course, I wasn't thinking correctly, and I thought, I'll get this double pack that's a quarter of the price of the Ninja authentic ones, which of course they were useless, and they both died within a month.
Oh dear.
And so I take out the old one that I never threw away, thankfully, fire some double WD into that, mess around with it, it's totally loosened it up. So maybe it wasn't, maybe some food stuff got into the back of it or something, I don't know. But it's totally loose and totally working. And now I like to just every week, just give it a little bit of maintenance to keep it going. It's working fine. The original one.
That's awesome.
And that's when I was thinking, that's where the little straw in the WD becomes very important as opposed to just spraying it.
Yeah.
And maybe the graphite spray would be actually better. I don't know.
No, I stick with WD for that. Okay. If you imagine part of the job that WD does is as a displacer. So if you've got water in there, that will work really well.
So I think that's also the thing that's working. It's drying stuff out. It's getting any water out. And
also it's really light. So that's the lightest oil. The graphite is heavier. So you probably find that it would be more messy with the graphite spray compared to WD. Here's an interesting one for you. I don't know whether I've ever told you. Did I tell you that I used to be the product manager for a competing product to WD-40?
What competing product?
Called Rustola from Holtz.
Rustola?
Rustola, yeah. Which had like a little bit of graphite in it too. I actually had never linked these stories together. I never even actually thought of it until very recently. But my claim to fame, this is when I was a university placement student, and I went to Holton Turtle Wax in the UK, and I went there.
Do you know the theme song for Turtle Wax advertisements? Turtle Wax gives you a hard shell finish. Turtle Wax? Okay, anyway.
Only in Northern America, I'm afraid. So I went there, and then 2 weeks after I joined as the most junior of junior assistants of the assistant, half the marketing team walked out.
So you became the marketing guy.
I was brand manager for most things at that point.
2 weeks in, promoted.
You don't believe the weird things that I did there. I did tie weld. This guy rang up. He's like, I'm from Lotus. I like you already. We are launching this new car, and we don't have space for a spare wheel. So we would like you to rebrand your tire weld for Lotus. I'm like, we can do that. 2 weeks in. In fact, no, by then I was probably been there a month. Anyway, I didn't think I needed to tell anybody about this for quite a while. Anyway, it turned out that was one of the best deals that they've ever done. Luck, nothing else. And that was the Lotus Elise.
Wow.
So the original Lotus Elise that was put on. So that was a really nice one. But the Rustola one, which was an utter classic, was, again, everybody was kind of out the office this day when I got a phone call from production to say, we're out at the canisters for the aerosols for Rustola, and we're on the production run. Your production slot is here. We don't have another production slot for 3 months. What do you want to do? Well, what I want to do is I want to hear what other options you've got. Well, the only other option that we've got is we've got a bit of the old stock that we had from like 5 years ago that we were about to throw. I'm like, oh, okay, so what's the difference? They're like, well, the good news is that the barcode's all the same and same product code. I'm like, oh, great, that's fantastic. That sounds really good. What's the difference then? Well, you know how previously it was a 44 mil aerosol? Well, this one is 63. It's a little squat number. That doesn't sound too dramatic. Go for it. So at that point, obviously, I put that to one side because I had quite a lot of brands to really work on. And next thing you know, it's in stock. And it gets shipped out to Halfords and all of the main retailers that have got Rustola at this point. And the phone calls start happening. What have we done to Rustola? Oh, yeah, about Rustola. So production problem, blah, 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 blah. The only one that we had, going to lose the production slot. So therefore, I went for it on the old packaging. All right. Do you know what a planogram is?
Planogram?
I'm not sure I've had that in my training yet. Well, what a planogram is basically on a particular shelf of a 2 meter
I know where
shelf.
this is going.
Every little slot is allocated to a particular product. Oh, great. Well, I'm glad Rustola was on there. Yeah, Rustola was on there at 46 mil, giving it 2 mil of space to be able to keep it away from the other products. It doesn't fit anymore. And literally that aghast open mouth moment of, I have properly messed up here, was something that was just truly spectacular. And at that moment, there was literally nothing that could be done. I got the product delisted in Halfords, which was the main volume driver. I'm not sure it ever really recovered. I'm not even sure that Rustola was still going, and I might have killed it.
Oh, no.
Which is terrible, because it worked miles better than WD-40. It was really, really good. And hence now, everybody has to use WD-40 and graphite spray due to my error in, 1997 or something like that. Oh, my word. So that was a very long-winded way of telling you that bizarrely I'd forgotten that I used to run a competitor brand to WD-40. How?
Oh man! And on that note, Colin Thomas, Essential Maintenance, and we will fix it Dubai. This has been that podcast. Thank you very much.